What's going on, YouTube? Dark Sword 255 here, where the numbers may be randomly generated, but the content itself is not. And we are talking some Raid Shadow Legends today, guys. I, over the weekend, pulled an insanely cool champion. Well, he's relatively new, and I haven't seen like any videos on this guy. So, you know, I pulled him. We're on the free-to-play account. I wish he was on my main account, but we pulled him on the free-to-play account. Actually, he's such a insane character for my account progression. I've been stuck at a couple of different bosses within Raid right now with this particular account, and getting this champion has helped progress my account significantly, actually, genuinely. And that champion, guys, is Diamant, and I hope I'm saying this guy's name right. He's a pretty interesting legendary champion, and he's a support champion. Now, what makes Diamant unique? Well, let's go ahead and go through his skills. Diamant's A1, Hand of Diamant. The Hand of Diamant attacks all enemies, heals all allies for 5% of this champion's max HP, heals by an additional 2% for this champion's max HP, for max HP for each buff on this champion. Fully booked, it's 25% base healing, which is insane. Jumping over to his A2, charitable donations. Attacks all enemies, increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10%. Fills their turn meter by an additional 5% for each buff that had its duration increased by this skill. His A3, Protect Racket. Place 3 intercept stacks on a target ally. Also place a 50% increased resistance buff and a 25% strengthened buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is where Diamant is very, very unique. His passive, Kingpin, has a 50% chance to convert a debuff into a buff before it is placed on this champion. Works with the following debuffs. Converts a 25 and a 50% decrease attack to the inverse, which is increase attack, and that's what it does. It basically changes decrease defense to increase defense, decrease speed to increase speed, critical decrease crit rate to increase, so on and so forth. Super unique champion. There are a couple different ways that you can build this guy. He does not need accuracy, he does not need attack. You can make him a little bit of an attack, just so when he A1s, he hits a little bit harder, but like that's not the design. You really want to build this champion with as much HP and resistance as possible. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, it depends on where you're using this guy, right? But I've found just through my playtesting, and we'll go through all the different sections here, guys, that it's honestly, since it's just on this particular champion, it's kind of worth overlooking it for this. Now, what I did is I put him in a 9-piece protection set. And when I say this is kind of scraping bare bones, well, it kind of is, right? So these are the only protection accessories on this particular account. So I was barely able to actually put this gear together to make this work. But the reason that I put protection on him is because what he is doing is he is putting a lot of buffs on all of your champions and then extending them. And what I did was put him in a 9-piece protection set. Now, literally on my account, these are the only protection pieces in the Ogren faction. So kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with this gear, but this was the best that I could do for this particular account. Like I said, this is my free-to-play account. We have some decent stats here. In a perfect world, I would have this resistance higher, but with the gear, this is as high as I was able to get it. Would love for him to be a little bit faster, just so he's constantly pumping out turn meter boosts, extending buffs on your team. But you know, this is as good as this account could get, which is pretty decent stats for having basic gear. Now, what I built him for was I built him to be mainly used in Hydra and in Chimera. Those are 2 sections of content that this account is struggling with. Now, he's not really a PvP champion. You can, if you wanted to use him in PvP, you could. I don't really see why. He's mainly a PvE champion here. Now, he's really good if you are, as I am, struggling with staying alive in these these high-end dungeons like Doom Tower, like Hydra, and like Chimera. He's very good at keeping your guys alive with his healing. He has a lot of resistances and buffs that he's putting down on all your people and then extending that. And I don't even have him fully booked. I was able to get his A2 and A3 booked, but the sadness of being on a free-to-play account and not having infinite resources or that dank credit card to, you know, get me the last couple books that I need is he would be healing significantly more just because of this ability. And the cool thing is he doesn't really need to have anything for this ability. He doesn't need 100% accuracy. He doesn't need 100% crit chance, and it doesn't necessarily matter how much damage he's doing. This heal is a flat based heal based off his total HP. And then I went ahead and we'll jump into the masteries here. I jumped a little bit around with this video, but I went with, like I said, a little bit more of a tanky build on him because, again, we're using him as a tanky support versus like a damage versus really kind of anything else. This is kind of like, I looked at this and I said, this is probably going to be the best avenue for this champion. And like I said, I don't claim to be the most knowledgeable raid creator out there, but I thought I would, like I said, would still make a video showcasing this champion. Oh my God, with all of the packs. So let's go ahead and jump into things. Diamant is also really great because his aura has a 20% speed aura. Or if you're struggling in other factions like Doom Tower, Chimera, and obviously Hydra, you now have an additional person to give you that speed buff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna showcase a little bit. This is a brutal key. I'm gonna showcase a little bit of this key, guys, and just show you how the design of this team is. And obviously this team is not necessarily, you know, obtainable for everybody, but this is, for my account, one of the best teams. Now, what's pretty cool with this team is I don't have to go with her, right? I can go with Shamil here for the head of torment. I could also go with Rector Draft. So for the most part, if you're looking at this build, right? Thor, free to play. He was a, you know, fusion. Rector is also a, you know, she's a pretty obtainable champion. Now, obviously, having Mitch and Shafurian, and I say his name wrong every single time, not necessarily realistic to have, but you could just replace him with Ardact. You could replace him with Ugo if you wanted to, because he's great because obviously he puts Hex down, right? But he also puts decreased buffs. And if you want to make sure that you're like constantly putting down buff stripping, then, or sorry, if you're constantly putting down block debuffs, then Ugo's is a great option. The reason that I ended up going with her is because she puts down debuffs as well as cleansing. So if you didn't have a Shamal, then it would be fine to run her. With how I have my team built, he is able to, with the increased resist, be able to block the head of mischiefs, buff stripping, buff stealing. So I don't necessarily have to go with a block buffer. Obviously it's preferred, but like I said, we're going to showcase. I want to show you guys how much healing he does and kind of how he works in Hydra. And as we can see here, guys, the head of mischief right here just tried to yoink all of the buffs that are on Diamant, and he was able to resist that. That increased resistance is so pivotal, and having him as the lead, you get targeted a little bit more. But again, running with Shamal here, you're running the risk of obviously your buffs being stripped. But look out how much he's extending your buffs, and with how his abilities work with that turn meter manipulation, he's able to use his A2 and then immediately use his A3. So it actually really keeps his A3 and his A2 on one less of a cooldown because he's able to go so frequently and so quickly. All right, and here's a screenshot, guys. I didn't want to waste all of our time going over, you know, the build. So this is a pretty decent amount of damage, especially if you're struggling to get the brutal. I mean, for hard, I was able to almost get 100 million. I didn't unfortunately record the hard run, but you know, obviously if I'm able to exceed a 1 key in brutal, then that, you know, think about how much damage you're going to be doing in hard and then normal. And something that's huge for me, guys, is I have been on this account have been struggling immensely, guys, with Chimera. Now, before, and this is huge, by the way. Oh, you can't even see my damage. Oh, there we go. Like the last couple Chimera games, this account has barely been able to get the 1 key for hard. Barely. And I'm talking 20.55 million damage with hard. And that's like slightly right above what I need to get that key. And now with this new champion in this build, I'm able to get not only the 1 key, but I'm actually doing more damage. And here, let me go ahead, and I just went ahead and just removed my webcam, but you can see, look at how much he's healing. He's even out healing Sulfurion, and he, you know, this guy is like my bread and butter on my team. Obviously, this is not the greatest team ever, but for what this account has, this is kind of the best. I mean, I have a ninja, but my ninja just gets absolutely deleted. I do not have a Lydia quite yet. I think when I get a Lydia, I would be replacing her. She's pretty good because she obviously, like, her passive has a chance of blocking 100% of damage incoming. But, you know, this is just the team that I was able to run. You can full auto this team. You do not have to manual it. I manual just going from, I think it's the lion, the normal head to the viper head. So like right before 25, stage 25 and stage 55, I'll just make sure that there are no block buffs on any of my champions, or at least if they're protected, then I'll make sure that they're staying on there. But what I wanted to showcase mainly here, guys, was normally when you get to the ram head, you have to turn off all of your main attacks and abilities because of the reflect damage that it does. But with this champion, you're able to stay alive a lot longer, and you can hit the ram head with as much damage as possible because he's giving you the resistance, he's giving you the strength, and he's also extending buffs from all of these other champions that are being put on your team. All right, guys, so we're now jumping into the ram head. Now, look at how much the shield is from Sulfurion, and then on top of that, he's getting that shield extended by Diamant. And look how healthy Diamant is able to keep everybody. When he attacks, watch how much he heals. If he attacks, there we go. So he just healed Thor 12,000 HP. And again, he's increasing turn meters, he is increasing duration of buffs, and his A1 is doing a massive amount of healing. Like, we're almost at the point that none of these buffs are gonna go away. And this is, like I said, this is full auto. This is a full auto run, guys. You can have it run full auto. Again, like I said, me personally, just when we get to the Viper head, both times in this run, I just went and just manualed it just to make sure that it was a 100% run, you know. And this is, like I said, just a screenshot, guys. I know I already kind of went over the healing and damage before, but this is just like a look at like a little bit more of the in-depth stats, and I say in-depth, right? But he's an extremely good support. He's kind of, you think about it, like Thor, because Thor, it gets stronger the longer the battles are going on. Same with this guy, right? The longer the game, the run lasts, the more healing and the longer he is increasing those buffs on those people, on your teammates. But this is a quick review, guys. You'll have to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you own this guy? Do you want this guy after watching this video? Because I know if I was on my main account, this would be an amazing grab for me. But yeah, guys, you know, let me know what you think of these videos. If you think that I'm missing anything, if there's other areas of the game you want me to showcase a little bit more. I just figured that for like a PvE champion, there's not really that too much to really go over, other than, you know, Hydra and some different builds that you can go. But yeah, like I said, I'm relatively new to all this stuff, so any kind of feedback is welcome, guys. And thank you guys so much for the support, and I will see everybody in the next video.